Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Matt Price. I'm one of the Inside Solutions Architects with Veeam Software. I'm also joined with my colleague Max over at one of our Technology Alliance partners, StarWind Technologies. He's the Director of Product Management. So today we're going to be discussing potential ways to dramatically reduce the backup cost of your virtualized infrastructure with the joint solution from Veeam and StarWind together. So a couple quick housekeeping notes before we get started. First and foremost, everyone is on listen-only mode. We do want this session to be as interactive as possible, so please, if you do have questions, locate the questions dialog box, which should be on the right-hand portion of your screen inside the GoToWebinar panel. If you've got any questions during today's presentation, go ahead and drop them there. If we can get to those questions as we're going through, we'll try, but more than likely, we're going to save those to the end and answer them at the culmination of the webinar. So this is being recorded, so you will be able to replay this at a later date along with the slides that we're going to be using, and everyone again is on listen-only mode. Now when we talk about the agenda, you'll notice the very first bullet point we have here is an exclusive special offer that actually the folks at StarWind have put together for the joint customers between Veeam and StarWind, and Max is going to be talking about that here momentarily. And we're going to take you through the StarWind solution, the advantages of going with the StarWind products. Then we're going to look at the 3-2-1 rule, which is certainly an industry standard, something we here at Veeam, live by. We're going to talk about some of the challenges that industries face when getting their backups off-site. We're going to talk about ways that Veeam enables you to get backups off-site, and we're going to take you through how that technology works. And then finally, like I said, at the culmination of the webinar, we are going to save some time for Q&A, so please keep those questions coming as we go through the session today. So Max, all yours, sir.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me here. So first and foremost, the special offer. Thanks everyone for coming here and making it bigger. We decided that having good back is something not taken for granted these days, and we decided we would like to help our customers to make this process better. So for all those Veeam customers who would like to upgrade their infrastructure with StarWind, they can bring their existing Veeam licenses to StarWind hyper-converged appliance offer, and also StarWind will take care of your cloud backups. So in a nutshell, you buy StarWind all-flash appliance and we pay your cloud backup bills. For more details, you can always go to our website and have the follow-up email, so we don't bother you with all that information during the webinar. At the end of the day, we want to make this educational, not marketing. So, hyper-converged infrastructure. Obviously, there's been a lot of hype around hyper-convergence, and all of the newspapers, Gartner, virtualization reviews and so on are talking about hyperconvergence. It's one of the latest trends, and it brings a really good idea of decoupling your applications from the underlying hardware. So you don't care about the underlying hardware anymore, you care about your application and you care about resources for that application. So if we compare traditional architecture with all those SANs, storage switches, and dedicated compute servers to hyper-converged. Hyper-converged provides a simpler and much more cost-effective way to manage and run your most mission-critical applications. It also has less moving parts and is effectively expandable. So you have your, let's say, 10-node cluster, and if you want more resources, you throw in more nodes. If something fails, you replace a simple component rather than resorting to expensive SAN repairs, proprietary fabric repairs, and so on. So that's the main idea of hyperconverged, and that's how we try to make it. What is StarWind's hyperconverged appliance? In our case, we position the appliance as a turnkey solution to deliver customers a pre-built, pre-tested, and pre-configured environment. So they can start spinning up their mission-critical applications in a matter of hours as soon as the appliance is installed in the rack. And what we try to deliver is a simple, reliable IT infrastructure with minimum possible hardware footprint. So you don't have all those SANs, switches, and blades installed. You just need 2 servers to start delivering highly available infrastructure for your applications. Now, the main benefits of the StarWind appliance compared to even do-it-yourself kits or other hyper-converged solutions. First of all, StarWind is performance-centric, and we try to push all possible IOPS of the storage and all possible CPU cycles of the system. So StarWind is tailored to deliver maximum performance with minimum number of nodes. We don't need 10 nodes to have a good working cluster. We just need 2 nodes to start with, and that already delivers highly available storage and ability to run any business critical applications. Then the solution is so easy to manage that you don't really need to manage the storage. Everything's already pre-configured, so you just need to manage the hypervisor, and it does not really differ from the ongoing day-to-day management you have currently with a hypervisor you're running. So there is no additional overhead added for managing some hyper-converged stack. It's all within the solution, and it automatically adapts to your needs. And it also allows you to scale your solution easier, so you can run more applications or deliver more performance for the applications with growing demands. And one more thing is the cost efficiency. Obviously, if you're going for something new, there has to be at least 3 factors. It needs to be easier to work with, it needs to be cheaper, and it needs to be faster. If you don't have 3 of them, you need to start looking for compromises, and that's something we're trying to avoid. Don't have any compromises. We can do it faster, we can do it simpler for you, and we can do it for less cost. We partnered with multiple companies to deliver this solution at the lowest possible price point and make it a really easy decision for even small offices and home offices and going up to small and medium businesses. Typical StarWind appliance is built on Dell servers, is using industry standard Intel Flash these days, Mellanox networking for maximum possible performance and scalability. So you can not only start with 10 gigabit today, you can easily grow to 100 gigabits in 1 year, or if your company grows suddenly, you can do it even tomorrow, and we will support that. We do support the major hypervisors, so you can run with Microsoft Hyper-V or VMware vSphere. We don't have any licensing limitations, so you can start with free Hyper-V Core if you want to run it, or you can start with the free vSphere hypervisor on it, and you can obviously grow to all the enterprise or data center licenses and have all the enterprise management tools installed with the appliance. And obviously the whole thing is powered by StarWind Virtual SAN doing the storage backend. I will talk about it a little bit later on the next slide. And of course the whole infrastructure is protected by Veeam's backup and replication, because backup is one of the main things after having a reliable infrastructure. So even if something fails really bad or there is a disaster, there is always a way to recover. Matt will definitely talk about it later, and he knows much more than I do about how Veeam can save your backend. So StarWind Virtual SAN, something I mentioned before. It's one of the first solutions on the market doing hyper-converged, along with vendors like HP or Datacore. So these are the old school virtual SAN vendors, and we now shifted into hyper-convergence as it is a really cool way for SMBs to make their IT infrastructures. StarWind works really simple. It takes local storage of your server, mirrors it with partner nodes, and delivers it back to the hypervisor as a highly available storage resource. And that highly available storage resource is then treated as main data store or shared volume for your virtual machines, effectively running your applications. So if any node of the cluster goes down, there is always a live copy of your data available on another node. And there is no downtime to the application, there is no performance impact, everything runs smooth, and if a complete node goes down, your application can be instantly restarted or even continue working on another node, depending on the hypervisor high availability features you use. Now, I mentioned before that StarWind appliance is protected by Veeam, and I will not go into a lot of details here, but there are some things which are must-have for a infrastructure which is your tier 1 production. Obviously, that is not only the high performance for your applications. We know that no one thinks about a server until something goes wrong. You only think about the application, and you start thinking about other things when red lights are blinking, UPS is screaming in the data center, and stuff like that. So Veeam does save you there, and it provides high-speed recovery. It makes sure you avoid data losses. It can test your backups. It can make a really easy backup infrastructure, and StarWind employs all these technologies to deliver the appliance with a definite checkbox that your data will be safe in any scenario. And moreover, we also integrated Veeam into our management, so StarWind appliance customers can manage their backup infrastructure and their backup jobs directly from the main management console where their virtual machines are managed as well, which provides an easier way of management and something we call a single pane of glass management. So you don't have to go to multiple places to manage different things. Just better user experience. Also, one of the purposes of this webinar and making emphasis on the backups and on performance is our recent release of StarWind's all-flash hyper-converged appliances. And we're about to drop the datasheet to the website, and people can start purchasing the appliances with all-flash configuration. I can talk hours about how fast it can be and so on, and that there are solutions tailored for flash, solutions tailored for spinning storage, but here is the truth. People want brilliant performance, and where hybrid delivers good enough, all-flash gives them guaranteed IOPS, and all-flash gives them guaranteed latency. At the end of the day, all-flash is the answer to your application, guaranteed brilliant performance. At the end of the day, that's the only thing administrators and directors care about. It needs to run, it needs to be highly available, and it needs to be fast. We are rolling out two models, or I would say two model lines, because each of them has 3 sub-models. And the smallest possible just has around up to 8 terabytes of usable flash storage before deduplication. And the capacity and compute power grows dramatically, so we can scale a 2-node solution up to 73.6 terabyte usable, and that is a real whopper with 32 cores per system and 1.5 terabyte of RAM per system. So there is definitely a lot of horsepower packed in these boxes, and it is always easy to pick a model. We do have 6 models, and there are also some customizations possible, so we can always tailor our solution for your needs. And that is actually one more thing which differentiates us from the majority of hyper-converged vendors, because you may have seen all those nice and easy configurations where they have 4 nodes in one chassis, or they can scale with 1 node at a time and say that scale out is your remedy and scale out is the way to go. So for those who don't know about scale out, quick note here. Scale out is the way for adding compute power or storage by adding more nodes to the cluster. Scale up, in contrary, is by adding more components that you actually need. So we at StarWind believe that we need to support 2 approaches. If customer needs more storage, we cannot say just throw in another node. He doesn't need the compute components of that node. He only needs the disks. So why shall someone pay more when he can actually tailor his solution to his needs? And that's why StarWind is easily customizable. We do have the starter kit box, and if customer needs to throw in more CPU, we do support it. If customer needs to change RAM or storage, we do support it. And also, as we said, scale out, we add more nodes to get more horsepower and more storage. And then we can also add more storage to certain nodes, and now these nodes host the file server machines, and the other nodes host the high-performance database. Or we can also add more storage and more resources like CPU or RAM to all boxes and get much more horsepower within the 4-node environment we currently have, without resorting to just pack a whole server rack worth of equipment which will not be used properly. And final thing about StarWind's hyper-converged appliance is support. So we not only put together Dell servers, hypervisor, StarWind, Veeam, and whatever other software or hardware you need to make your infrastructure work properly. StarWind also acts as a single point of contact support for your hardware, for your hypervisor, for your storage, and for your backup. And also, if you want to add more storage to your solution, or if you want to tailor your backup solution to the 3-2-1 rule, which you'll hear about in just 1 minute, StarWind also offers additional backup storage capabilities, like dedicated backup nodes running along with your all-flash cluster running primary production workloads. So with that, I would like to thank everyone, and I would like to invite Matt to tell you about the 3-2-1 rule.
Thanks very much, Max. Awesome to hear about the StarWind, hyper-converged appliance. It sounds like a high-performing device. Would love to get one here in Atlanta. So yeah, so you mentioned hyper-converged, where you really have everything all in one chassis, including backup, which is an awesome strategy, awesome approach. The one thing that we've got to make sure of, though, is your backups are not only on-prem, but you're also getting some geographic redundancy and that data protection. So, one of the concepts that we always talk about here at Veeam is the 3-2-1 rule. And essentially this is stating that you need 3 total copies of your data. And essentially production on that StarWind appliance is going to count as one of those, but you also need 2 additional. Number 2, you need 2 different types of media sets. So whether we're talking tape, cloud, an off-site location, the whole concept is you've got to make sure you've got redundancy, not only from a backup standpoint, but a media type standpoint. And the one in 3-2-1 is certainly you want one completely outside of your geographic location to protect you from natural disasters and things that are unavoidable. So let's talk about some of the historical challenges, that you face sometimes when you're trying to get that data off-site. Number 1, bandwidth normally comes at a premium. So a lot of times, You don't have the luxury of having a dark fiber circuit to your DR site, or a ton of bandwidth to push that data to the cloud. So a lot of times that upstream connection is limited. Also, we all know data is not shrinking, right? Data is exploding. Every day your data is increasing, your change rates are increasing. So you're not going the wrong way, right? You're not shrinking, you're just getting larger. So again, that's part of the challenge. Lack of resources to actually make the offsite location. So maybe you don't have the capital to actually stand up a DR site and invest in the compute, the power, the cooling. So these are some of the challenges that perhaps have prevented some organizations to really following that 3-2-1 strategy. Now, when we talk about how Veeam can help you with this, hopefully most of you guys on the call know about Veeam's core concepts and what we do. But essentially, we're a product that's built exclusively for virtualized environments. So when you look at how we can help you get that data off-site, we certainly have tape integration. Tape is probably one of the easier strategies that have been around quite some time. We definitely have that support. We also provide replication. So if you do happen to have a DR site with compute already over there, Veeam is actually enabling you to replicate to your off-site location. We've also got the concept of a backup copy job, which is another way to define replication, but we're not replicating the VM so that you can fail over and fail back with a backup copy. We're simply replicating your backup data. Now, all three of the first ones assume that you have either the tape infrastructure or an off-site location to target. What if you don't? And that's really where Cloud Connect comes into the whole Veeam portfolio. So when you look at some benefits around what Cloud Connect brings to the table, you don't have to worry about that second site. That's what this feature is really all about. It enables you to set up a relationship with a Veeam cloud and service provider, which StarWind is one of those, so that you don't have to worry about that CapEx investment, right? You simply pay what you need. It's elastic. You can increase your backup repository space as needed. Veeam also allows you to secure that backup traffic. So not only are we establishing a connection over an SSL pipe, but we're also doing AES 256 end-to-end encryption, if you need that, enabled, depending on what type of data you're protecting. Number three, you've got full visibility. So that's one of the challenges with tape, right? So if you back up something to tape and you put it in a vault, where is it? What do you have on the tape? Unless you're keeping very detailed records, it's going to be a challenge inventorying and keeping track of everything. With Cloud Connect Backup, you've got full insight and full visibility directly in the Veeam UI of all of your restore points, where all of those restore points actually reside, your Cloud Connect target. And you've also got full access to do restores without having to worry about going and getting, tape number 422 in order to get that specific restore point. And best of all, it's fully integrated. And that's really where it brings and ties everything back together, is whenever you add Cloud Connect into your Veeam console, you're going to see that repository just like any other storage target, as if you were backing up to a NAS. You're going to see that right there in that list that you can select from. So very, very tightly integrated with the UI. Now, if you'll look across the bottom, essentially what we're looking at here is your traditional concept. This is your virtualization environment, whether it be VMware or Hyper-V. We definitely support both. You've got production storage, and you've got your primary backup storage. Now, the StarWind appliance is handling everything essentially except that primary backup storage, but perhaps Max, in the Q&A time can maybe mention, a product that StarWind actually offers that could help you guys if you're also looking to add backup storage. Maybe you're building out a solution from scratch and you need that backup repository. Veeam absolutely recommends and definitely encourages you to have your backups on site, even if it's just a very limited retention. And really the main benefit of that is you've got extremely fast restore options with Veeam. For an example, we can run a VM directly from your backup file in minutes, but if that backup file is across a WAN link, you don't have that same capability, right? So there's definitely advantages of keeping those backups on-prem. Now, when you incorporate Cloud Connect Backup, this is where you're talking to a Veeam cloud and service provider. StarWind is an excellent partner of Veeam, so you can go there. You can arrange exactly how much repository storage that you're going to need. And you actually establish that connection over SSL to what is called a cloud gateway server, which is effectively the ingress point into the service provider's data center, right? So a very simple communication. You would set up a backup copy job to actually take that backup from your on-prem repository, and this is important because we're not touching production when this is happening. We're simply pulling from backup files that you've already captured that are already on-premise on, be it a StarWind backup appliance, be it a NAS you've already got. Veeam, from a backup storage standpoint, we're completely storage agnostic, so it really doesn't matter as long as it's a disk repository. And we simply pull from that and send it to the service provider's storage. Now, you may notice that WAN acceleration is down there, and that's an optional component. So we kind of go back to one of the first challenges is the WAN, right? The bandwidth that you may have available. So depending on what your upstream connection is and what your change rate looks like, WAN acceleration can be a very attractive offering to those of you who, let's say, have 100, 150 megabit or below, upstream connection to the WAN. And this is an optional thing that you can actually pay a little extra for to your service provider. And again, it goes back to being fully integrated with Veeam. It's not like a physical WAN accelerator that you have to place on-prem. This is a Veeam component that essentially enables global variable block deduplication for you. So if you're actually backing up some 2012 R2 machines, some 2008 R2 machines, chances are another customer that StarWind provides services for has probably already done that. And the idea behind this is the cache that's going to be located at the service provider is going to be populated with blocks from operating systems that could be duplicates of what you've got on-prem. So that's actually going to save you the amount of data you have to push up over the WAN to actually reach the StarWind data center, right? So it's a really nice thing that you can add on to your Veeam offering in conjunction with StarWind, right? So very simple setup process. You simply arrange your account with StarWind. They'll provide you with your username and password to actually add them into your Veeam console, along with either an IP or a publicly visible DNS so that you can reach directly out to their servers. Probably take you 5 minutes at best to set this up once you have those credentials. Very, very straightforward. Now, guys, we also do have a full 30-day trial of the Veeam product offering. You can grab a copy of that directly at veeam.com/downloads. We definitely encourage that. You can test drive the product, completely unrestricted. It's the full-blown software. There's no limitations whatsoever. And one of the nice things about running a trial with Veeam is you not only can you put it through its paces, but if you decide that the Veeam solution is right for you from a data protection standpoint, there's no ripping and placing. You simply swap out your license key once you purchase your sockets, for Veeam, and everything keeps moving exactly, as it has been configured. So with that, that's all I've got. Again, Cloud Connect Backup is very straightforward to implement on the Veeam side of things. And I know we've got a couple questions. Max, if you're still online with us, perhaps we can answer these. And it looks like, so far, some of these questions are related to or directed towards you. Sam is asking, does StarWind have a cloud-based offering to use Veeam, or is StarWind a purely on-prem or colo-based solution?
StarWind actually has both offerings available. So StarWind has a cloud entity to use as backup storage, and StarWind also has an on-site solution which can be used as backup storage, which can be either just disk backup to use with Veeam scale-out, or to be a VTL to convert spindles to be visible as a tape by Veeam and to make your backups easier without actually changing the backup infrastructure much.
Awesome, awesome. There's another question that Sam mentioned there is, what is the size of the entry-level model and what's the standard pricing on the StarWind appliance?
Okay, so the entry-level model for the all-flash has about 8 terabytes usable capacity, and if HA for virtual machines is used, then the capacity shrinks to the size of the replicated virtual machine. So let's say there is 8 terabyte, but then you have 1 terabyte virtual machine you want to make fault tolerant, then the capacity will be 6 terabytes. Obviously, 50% overhead for HA VMs. And as for the pricing, I don't have it at hand right now, but I can definitely share it. You can just PM me or drop me an email. The email is really easy, max@starwind.com. If you don't want to talk to me for any reason, you can always talk to our sales, which is sales@starwind.com. And we'll be glad to help you out with pricing out and speccing out a solution to fit your needs.
Awesome. Looks like there's another question from Khan. How would the performance be when recovering VMs from cloud repository? Is it dependent on the WAN link? So I'll take this one. So Khan, yeah, essentially the restore performance directly from the cloud absolutely will have a great impact on what your bandwidth looks like. Now, like I mentioned a few moments ago, there's going to be some things that Veeam enables you to do from a recovery standpoint that you simply won't be able to do from your cloud repository. And one example is that instant VM recovery that I mentioned. So you actually have the ability to run the VM directly from backup storage in literally just a few minutes if you were to have a VM outage. And that's the whole reason why you always want on-prem backups to some extent. So when you look at doing restores directly from the cloud repository, you absolutely can still restore an entire VM, but it's the quote-unquote old-fashioned way, right? You're going to be pulling from the backup, you're rehydrating, you're decompressing, you're copying back to on-prem storage. So again, if it's an 800 gig VM and you've got a 5 meg circuit versus a 500 meg circuit, the time is definitely going to be different. But you don't have to restore the entire VM. You can also do granular restores directly from the backups that are housed in the cloud. So if that same 800 gig backup, you really only need maybe a 1 meg PDF or spreadsheet, you can actually do a Windows file recovery. And better yet, if you've got something like a SQL or Exchange server that are backed up in the cloud, even like a domain controller, you can extract individual application item objects like an email, calendar appointment, AD user or computer account, maybe a SQL database, without having to pull down the full backup file size. So yes, WAN speed has a great deal to do with the time it's going to take, but in not every case do you have to restore the full-blown VM. So hopefully that answers your question, Khan. Another question from Sam, is deduplication part of Veeam licensing or StarWind or both? So I can answer the first part of this. From a Veeam standpoint, compression and deduplication is just part of it. That's what you're getting no matter what license level you go with. It's baked into the core technology. Now remember, the dedupe that we're going to be doing in line whenever the job first runs is actually fixed block, and it's also job based. And then if you add WAN acceleration on top of that when you're going to the StarWind repository, that will essentially give you another level of deduplication for the data in transit. So at that point, we're going to be using variable block sizes, so a little bit more aggressive, and now we're looking at everything globally from the source side. Now, keep in mind, that's not going to give you additional storage reduction savings at rest. It's only going to reduce the amount of data you have to send up to the cloud, right? So from the Veeam side of things, that's how we handle the dedupe.
Okay, and at this point I would just add that StarWind dedupe feature is also included. So both Veeam and StarWind have dedupe. StarWind has it inline for production storage. We can also offer offline dedupe on our backup appliances, just in case. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Awesome, awesome. Great questions, guys. Great questions. So, I know Max mentioned earlier his email address. Mine is also really easy. It's simply matt.price@veeam.com, just like my name is spelled there. So if you just put a period in the middle and add @veeam.com on the end, that's my email. So definitely feel free to jot that down if you guys have any follow-up questions. Looks like there's a question from Greg. Greg asks, for incremental backups, does Veeam use change block tracking on Hyper-V for accelerated backup times? And if so, when this is replicated to the offsite location or the cloud, does the daily change block only get replicated? So that's a great question, Greg. So yes, so to start at the base of that question, Veeam actually developed a change block tracking technology for Hyper-V, for on-prem Hyper-V. We have a filter driver that does enable us to track changed blocks in Hyper-V environments. That's native on the VMware side. We actually built it a couple versions ago for Hyper-V. So that's for tracking changed blocks when we're backing up from the source. Now, whenever you're going to a cloud repository, you're going to be using a backup copy job, not the regular, backup job. And the backup copy job is only going to send the delta changes up to the cloud after you get the first full seeded. Now, many of the service providers will enable you to simply take, an on-prem backup and ship it to them, via USB or what have you. And once that seed is done, then to your point, moving forward, the only thing we have to send to the cloud are, in fact, the delta changes. So really, the key variable that you should really be looking at when you talk about, how long is it going to take, what type of bandwidth do I need, is your daily change rate, or whatever change rate in between the job schedule that you're looking to achieve is really the key variable there. So hopefully that answers your question, Greg. So if there are any other questions, please go ahead and ask now in the questions box. Max and I hang out for another couple minutes, but if not, if you guys don't have any additional questions, we definitely want to thank you for coming out. Hopefully you've gained some valuable insight into the advantages of incorporating a StarWind appliance along with Veeam for the data protection aspect. And Max, maybe you want to run through just real quickly one more time about that special offer that you guys, are providing Veeam customers.
Yeah, definitely a great idea. So once again, Veeam customers who are getting StarWind's all-flash appliance to upgrade their existing virtualization infrastructure will get their cloud backup storage bills paid by StarWind for the time of their support contract. So let's say you buy an all-flash appliance from StarWind with 8 terabyte usable capacity. We pay for 8 terabytes in Azure or in Amazon or in Google Cloud for 3 years if you purchase it was 3 years, or for 5 years if you purchase it for 5 years. Obviously, more details in the documentation we provide. That would be the best way to get the full offering. But if we talk about it in a nutshell, we're keen to pay your cloud backup storage bill if you go with StarWind All Flash.
Awesome, good stuff, good stuff. So guys, with that, okay, it looks like there's another question from Sam. Let's go ahead and answer this one. Sam asks, I currently have Veeam Standard Edition. In order to be able to set up cloud-based backup copy jobs and use WAN acceleration, I need Enterprise, correct? So, Sam, great question. So number one, in order to use Cloud Connect backup, you definitely have to be on at least version 8. And if you want to enable, off-site backups, backup copy jobs themselves are absolutely included in standard. It's not like you have to have the Enterprise Edition to do a backup copy job. And if you want to leverage the WAN acceleration, then yes, you would definitely have to upgrade your license level. So WAN acceleration is not offered in standard, but to use a regular backup copy job, yes, you can do that in standard. Excellent questions, guys. We appreciate you guys asking the questions, appreciate you paying attention and coming out today. Once again, from the Veeam side of things, thank you, Max, for having us on this joint presentation. We certainly appreciate the partnership. And for all of those of you that are still on the call, please feel free to, jot down our email addresses. Again, my email is matt.price@veeam.com. And any follow-up questions that we can answer for you, if you need a contact from the sales department based on your region, we can make sure we facilitate that here. Feel free to reach out to us for anything in the future.
Oh, and one more question coming. So Alex is asking, how many servers does StarWind appliance need to operate? And that's a great question. Technically, we just need one appliance to start your virtualization journey, but the best way to get all the features like high availability and distributed caching, which make the performance better without risking your data, is to start with 2 appliances. So that means 2 servers that will be either 2-unit footprint in your server rack or 4-unit footprint in your server rack. And also the 2-node starter kit does not require dedicated network switching equipment. So the 10 gig network we employ for synchronization between the host is just cross-connected between the nodes. So you can instantly strike out 16K you may have reserved for buying those 10 gigabit switches. You don't really need them. With the StarWind appliance, all the internal traffic can go through a straight cable.
That's awesome, awesome. So, you know, with that, I guess, Max, is there any other questions on your side?
I don't think so. So don't see any additional questions coming in. But anyway, those were really good questions. So thanks everyone for coming in, and thanks
Absolutely.
for your participation.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend. Thanks for coming out.
Bye-bye, everyone.